Welcome back to the Underground Football Podcast, a show where we talk about anything and everything NFL football from underground. Alongside my co-host Jack Priller and our two special guests Keegan York and Jacob Pawani, I'm Mike Maynard, and we're going to jump right into it. In today's episode, we're going to go over the Week 3 predictions, who we think is going to win each game. Obviously, Thursday night has already passed. We're recording this after the Thursday night game. So that was between the Steelers and the Browns. Steelers losing to the Browns 17 to 29. Browns, obviously. Um, not the best quarterback heavy game, maybe not the most entertaining game, and I think we'll get into some more entertaining games as we go on. But how you guys doing today? I want to, let's hear it. How you guys feeling about Week 3? What are our thoughts to start this?
Uh, you know, I think there's a lot of good games this week. Honestly, I think we seeing the offensive powerhouse Buffalo Bills in Miami. I think this will be an interesting kind of thing to dive into and talk about.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, I mean, any thoughts on Thursday night, Keegan or Pawani? You guys, watching the game, anything
I
that you
mean,
guys were
tough
struck
game to
with?
watch if you're a Steelers fan for sure.
That is true. That is true. I mean, definitely, a lot of Kenny Pickett speculation on if he's going to start maybe in week 4, but who knows?
Mm. I think it's a little
But
bit too early to pull that, but Trubisky's got it for now, but
I
not
agree.
performing too well.
yeah, I mean, this coming from the two Bears fans, though. I mean, in my opinion, Kenny Pickett fits the offense a lot better because they're kind of trying to just run like, quick little plays, get the ball out super quick because your offensive line is, well, I mean, I'll say terrible. So, Mitch is good for play extension and that type of stuff, but Kenny Pickett's going to be able to get the ball out quicker and more accurately in the short game. I think, that might benefit them more. But, Thursday night's passed. We'll move on to this weekend, obviously. So, the Sunday games, the early slate, will start off, if you guys are cool with this, with the Saints and the Panthers. Um, you know, there's a bunch of games starting in the early slate, but this will be our first one we start with. The Saints are favored to win this game. I believe the spread is um, they're favored by 3. So I'd like to hear your guys' picks, but to start, I'll say I am picking the Saints to win this game. I think Jameis Winston didn't have a great week last week, but I think Baker's been pretty bad. That Panthers offense is rough, definitely to start out. DJ Moore hasn't been able to get going. McCaffrey hasn't been able to get going. Um, and I think the defense for the Panthers isn't great. You saw the Saints kind of have a hiccup last week, but having Kamara back, Michael Thomas looks maybe not exactly like he did when before the injury, but he looks good. Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry are there too. I think the Saints just have the better team overall. I think they'll walk out of here in you know week 3 with a win. But I'd like to hear. So we'll start with you, Priller. Priller, what are your thoughts on the Saints Panthers game this weekend? Who we think's winning?
I'm actually gonna have to agree with you on this one. I think I'm gonna give it to the Saints this week. Like you said previously, the struggling offense that they had, I definitely would agree with that against the Bucks. But the Bucks do have a really good defense, so I mean, kind of not something that we were. I mean, it was something that we were expecting that week. With them going against the Bucks. So I'm definitely thinking of seeing them bounce back for sure against this Panthers defense that obviously I think lacks more talent or lacks talent that the Buccaneers had. So definitely for sure, I'm thinking that the Saints are definitely going to put up some points on offense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with
definitely.
you too, man. I think the Saints are there over the Panthers today.
Fair enough.
I mean, I definitely also have to agree. The only thing I look out for is
New
Jameis
Orleans Saints
is
don't
getting
travel.
questionable all week with a back injury, but if he can fight through that, I don't see any reason why they can't go out and destroy the Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. I think Kamara will be a big help against this Panthers defense, which like Priller said is kind of lacking in talent. I mean, the Saints got their superstars, they got their Demario Davis, they got their Marshawn Lattimore. The Panthers don't really have that. I mean, they have Brian Burns, who in my opinion's at that level, but the Saints, as a team are really solid all around, up and down, good offensive line, good everywhere. So, all of us have the Saints. It's a sweep for the Saints, so we're looking Saints here for this game, but we'll jump into the next game. I mean, we all, pretty much got our points in. I mean, not much to say there. But the next game that we have on our list is the Houston Texans against the Chicago Bears in which the Bears are favored by 2.5 points. Now, I don't think that we're going to have a lot of happy campers in here, but I'm actually taking the Texans to win this game. I think they don't have a win yet, obviously, and the Bears do that Week 1 win against San Francisco. But that Week 1 win, in my opinion, was a little bit I don't know what you want to call it, but in the monsoon that they played in, it was a little bit hard to judge how good the Bears were, and with the offense just
The
not
Houston
looking great for the Bears, and the offensive line's really struggling. Justin Fields is, I think, under 200 passing yards in 2 games, so just really not what you'd like to see. And I think the Texans aren't a great team either. Both of these teams are going to end up at the bottom of the standings at the end of the year, probably picking pretty high in the draft. But I think the Texans have the better roster, and they've started the season better, even though they don't have a win to start. So I'll start with Keegan here. I know we got two big Bears fans in here, but Keegan, I'd like to know your thoughts on this matchup here in Week 3 for the Bears.
Believe it or not, I actually agree with you, Mike. I don't think the Bears are gonna go in and win tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Lovie Smith is, I believe, 5-2 against the Bears, and I just don't think the Bears are gonna pull it. I don't think Justin Fields is gonna play that well unless he throws the ball more than like 10 times. Because if he can't do that, there's no reason why we're gonna score more than a touchdown. So I do have the Texans winning by 10 tomorrow. So that's what I think.
By 10. It's going to be a tough, hard-fought game for both teams. I mean, honestly. But I got the Bears, if anything. Bear down, just feed the ball to Dave Montgomery and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm honestly in full agreement here with Polani. I'm more thinking that the Texans are coming to the Bears' house, bro. I think that the Bears are finally gonna give Monty the well-deserved load that he needs, and I think they're gonna finally actually depend on his run game, and we're gonna see a real nice amount of yards get put up by Monty. Also, I want to point out that I think this is actually a perfect game for Justin Fields to finally get his passing game going. I mean, like the Texans' defense is not the greatest, so I think we're definitely gonna see like a lot more involvement with like Mooney, stuff like that down the field. So I think this is gonna be a really awesome game for Justin Fields. I think it's gonna be a huge bounce back. I mean, Mike, you're kind of pointing out his lack in yards. I think it's gonna be a huge bounce back week for him. He's gonna have a decent ass game with Mooney being able to get open downfield against this Texans defense.
Yeah.
I
Just got to
mean,
hope the offensive
we'll
game plan's
see.
better for sure.
I think also, the offensive game plan's been a problem, but I think the main issue for the Bears these first 2 weeks has been the offensive line. And you're saying Monty's gonna have a big game, and that's easier said than done with this offensive line that he's got in front of him when he's getting hit in the backfield a lot of times. So, if he
Yeah,
can get going, maybe, but I don't know. This
I
game could
mean,
go either way.
you look at I mean, arguably, I mean, I haven't looked in stats, but you look at the Packers defensive line compared to the Texans. I mean, you've seen what Monty did against the Packers. I mean, I'm only thinking anything better is going to happen when they go against the Texans.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think they might struggle to get the passing game going again. I think the Texans defense, like you said, isn't great, but having Derek Stingley and Desmond King and Jalen Petrie, like some of these guys in the secondary for the Texans, I feel like that's kind of their strong suit. So I think if anything, the run game is going to have to win the Bears this game, and having Fields with the capability of elevating that run game himself is obviously nice. So the Bears could win this game, but I think the Texans overall are going to take this one out. So, some differing opinions, but I think it'll be a close game for sure. I definitely think this should be a competitive matchup. Maybe not like a game that people want to watch, but a competitive game. Um, I mean, if you guys are good, I'll move on to the next game. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
Next game on the list is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Indianapolis Colts. I should mention the first game Saints Panthers was in Carolina, and second game Texans Bears was in Chicago. But this game with the Chiefs and the Colts is at Indianapolis, so the Colts have a home game here against the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs here. I think this was one of my easier picks to make this week. Um, Not only has like the Colts offense just not looked good, but the Chiefs offense has looked amazing. So it's kind of just offense versus offense, I think the Chiefs have a much superior unit. Now, Matt Ryan and the Colts didn't have Michael Pittman last week, but I really don't think that having him back is going to make them beat one of the, in my opinion, best teams in the league. So I definitely think the Chiefs will put up a good game again, and Patrick Mahomes will continue to show why he's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I'm with you here. Chiefs by 100. Colts can't do anything in the first 2 weeks.
I'm gonna agree with you guys on that. I mean, the Colts have just looked really shitty these past 2 weeks. I mean, it's kind of sad to see a team that was actually pretty good last year go on such a cold streak to start off the season. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of agreeing here with Mike. Chiefs, just an absolute offensive powerhouse. I don't think the Colts are gonna even be able to stop these people.
There's definitely no way the Colts come out with a win tomorrow. So Chiefs by 10, at least.
I think the Colts, just to give them some respect, we're saying they're all going to start what would be 0-2-1, which isn't a great start, but in the division that they play in, there's still definitely a chance to make the playoffs if they can kind of turn things around. But got to get Jonathan Taylor going, and got to just hope that Matt Ryan shows more of what he used to be and not what he's turning into, which is, a below average quarterback. You want Matt Ryan to get back to his Atlanta Falcons days, but it's going to be a struggle for the Colts probably. And I think, yeah, we've said it a couple times, but the Chiefs just are going to put up too many points for the Colts to combat. They're not going to be able to keep up. So we'll move on here. Quick game. I mean, not much to say. The Chiefs are favored by 5.5 in that game, by the way. But we'll hop into what is, in my opinion, probably the game of the week. I mean, there's a couple other good ones, but
Definitely
we'll
that.
hop into the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins, two undefeated teams here. This game will be played in Miami. The Bills are favored by 6 points in this game, um, but I think it's going to be closer than that. I think these two teams, obviously both undefeated, are very good and know a lot about each other, both playing in the same division, the AFC East. But I think it'll be a close game. I think both offenses are super strong, and the defenses both have a lot going for them. I think the Bills' defense does have the edge. But so I mean that kind of spoiled my pick, but I do have the Bills winning this game. I think with the Bills' defense being like it is, I mean they've looked amazing the first 2 weeks. Von Miller looks amazing. The secondary looks great. Now the secondary does have a couple injuries. I know Micah Hyde
Yep, my God.
is now out, so that could change things a little bit. But I think they've showed in the first 2 weeks that this pass rush is able to get to the quarterback, and Tua won't have the time that he wants to get down the field. And I think the Bills, obviously offensively, are going to put up a ton of points with Josh Allen, Diggs, Gabe Davis is supposed to be back for this game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a lot of points on the board, but I think the Bills are going to come out on top. So, Pawani, what do you think? I mean, you got the Bills or the Dolphins winning this game here in Week 3?
I definitely got the Bills with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs over there, but I think the defense could be a little bit of a problem. Yeah, losing Micah Hyde and trying to find his replacement because if I'm not mistaken, they have that other cornerback down from last week as well. So they
Yep.
might struggle a little bit defensively against Tua's offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle over there.
Yeah, I think Kaiir Elam, the first round pick for the Bills, is going to be getting a bigger role here in Week 3 than he has in the first 2 weeks. He's thought that he'd come out and kind of be the starter to start the season, but he kind of has been on the bench, and now to the injuries to the secondary now with Jordan Poyer's questionable, I believe, too at safety, and
Really.
obviously Micah Hyde's out, so Tre'Davious White's been out since the beginning of the season. I think Kaiir Elam's going to have to play a good game covering, like you said, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are two of the best receivers in the league, so it's going to be a challenge, but I think they'll be up to it, and they'll have the pass rush with Von Miller and Greg Rousseau up front to kind of get after Tua and make him uncomfortable. And hopefully some mistakes if you're a Bills fan. But Tua's looked good these first 2 weeks. I can't lie. We had a podcast with our guest Quack where he said that Tua was, I think, a top 12 quarterback, and we kind of we're laughing at him. But he's leading the league in passing yards. He had a great week last week. And obviously Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are number one for Tyreek and number three for Jalen Waddle in the league in receiving yards so far to start the season. So both offenses have a bunch of great superstar players, and I think it should be a fun one. But we'll hop in. Priller, what do you think on this game? You got the Dolphins or the Bills here?
All right, so I'm actually going with the Dolphins. Now, they do Bills do have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. We're not down that, and obviously we're thinking that they're gonna go off like they've been in the past couple weeks. But what really is concerning is like you guys mentioned these injuries. So just like kind of go in more depth on these injuries. Micah Hyde's out for the season. Dane Jackson, who's their starting cornerback, is out for this game. You have Ed Oliver and Jordan Phillips, who are both out for this game. Very strong D tackles on their front. You have Jordan Poyer, who's questionable. Like these are all very important pieces to this defense, that this Buffalo defense, who is arguably one of the best defenses in the league. And I think with them going down against this complete offensive powerhouse with the Dolphins, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at receiver, I think this could be a very dangerous thing that's happening to this defense. And so I think Mike McDaniel's obviously gonna, scheme it up to where Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are obviously going on these young, experienced cornerbacks that I think he's just gonna be able to take advantage of. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the league, and I think him going up against some of these guys like Kaiir Elam and Christian Benford, I think this definitely could be a problem for the Buffalo's defense.
Oh,
But
don't discredit Christian Benford. He's looked good first two
I'm
weeks.
no, you're right, but I'm
The
saying
fifth
that
or sixth round rookie.
Tyreek Hill, I'm saying definitely is going to have a week this week, and I mean, I would even say Jalen Waddle's going to have a week. Now, maybe not the same week as they did last week, but they're definitely going to put up some numbers. And like I mentioned, the two D tackles going down. I mean, maybe we'll see some more running back game with like Raheem or Chase Edmonds.
I think really quick before we get Keegan's point, I'd like to point out, we're talking about the Bills' injuries, but we have to look at the Dolphins as well. I think the big one here is that Teron Armstead is questionable for this game. Um, Now it's not the blind side for Tua because he's a lefty, but left tackle obviously still a very important position, and Teron Armstead's one of the best in the league. So if he's out for this game and you have one of the best pass rushers in the league against you, I think Tua's really going to be even more uncomfortable than we're thinking. And also Xavier Howard questionable in this game. Now if he's not there to shadow Stephon Diggs, we're going to have a similar type of thing where we're saying young guys with no experience guarding top caliber receivers like we are saying with the Dolphins. It might be the same for the Bills having Xavier Howard out for this game. So the injuries will be interesting to see. A lot of guys questionable. But yeah, I'd like to get Keegan. I'd like to get your outlook on this game. What do we think about this matchup?
I mean, I definitely have the Bills winning this one, and that's because the Dolphins in their previous game had 0 sacks and 0 QB hits. So if you're just going to let Josh Allen sit in that pocket, he's going to throw 6 touchdowns on you. And Dolphins defense already is not that great, so at least so far. So I definitely think the Bills could win this one.
Are you
Should
calling
win
that
this one.
right now? 6 touchdowns for Josh Allen?
No, I doubt that, but I'd say at least 4.
Okay.
Shit, I'll take that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Josh Allen should have a great game this week.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Like every week.
when I look at these games. Well, yeah, obviously, but
For someone who's got him,
when I look
start
at
him.
this game, obviously, quarterback's the most important position in football. You look at the quarterback difference. Now, Tua's started good, but he's not Josh Allen. We all know this. So, I think if you're looking at just that, which is the most important thing, Josh Allen's going to lead this team to a victory, in my opinion, and in most of our opinions. But we'll move on now. We'll hop into the next game in the early slate, that being the Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. The Lions coming off of an interesting week, and the Vikings coming off of a bad week. And the Lions or the Vikings, sorry, are favored by 6 points here in this game. I think this is the highest over/under of the week this week at 52.5. So they think high scoring game, which I think so too. I mean, these defenses haven't looked great, and the offenses have. So, I mean, I should say the Vikings offense this past week in week 2 did not look good. But week 1 against the Packers, they looked very good. Jefferson obviously had a great week, but the Lions are kind of the story so far, with Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of taking off, and this whole offense really just looking much better than people thought, and the team in general. So I actually do have an upset here. I have the Lions taking this one in Minnesota. I think Minnesota,
Nice.
they're feeling down about their last week. They're all upset, and they got the kneecap biters coming in from Detroit who are just gonna rock their world. I think with Amon-Ra St. Brown having, it's probably gonna be like Pat Pete, who's on the back half of his career trying to defend him. I think that's a mismatch. I think um, this Lions offensive line is going to be able to contain the Vikings pass rushers, which obviously is kind of their strong suit of the defense, having Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith. So this Lions team has a good matchup here, I believe. DeAndre Swift should have a good game. He was banged up a little bit last week, still played, but you might see a bigger role from him. Um, but yeah, I do think this is going to be a shootout. I don't think either one of these defenses is really something to be super worried about. But I think the Lions just have looked so good, and they got the heart. Kirk looked terrible last week. Now I'm not saying that Kirk's going to look bad again, but uh, he didn't look as good as Jared Goff did, and I think this is kind of like a trap game where the Lions can come in there and just steal one from them. And maybe I'm crazy, but I got the Lions. So Perla, I'd like to hear your prediction here first. What do we think? Lions Vikings Week 3 in Minnesota. Who you got?
I'm gonna have to change it around on you. I'm gonna go to the Vikings on this one. I think Justin Jefferson's gonna absolutely expose this Lions defense. And I kind of agree with you saying that it's gonna be a shootout, 'cause I think none of these defenses have really been able to do much. And I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has kind of been doing his thing over there in Detroit. But I mean, on the other side, you do got Justin Jefferson. So I think Justin Jefferson's really gonna take over this game just like he did in Week 1. And I think he's just gonna obviously make the Vikings pull ahead way more than I think the Lions can put up this week. So yeah, I got the Vikings winning this game and a bounce back last week.
Yeah, I'm with the Vikings here as well. I mean, if you look at last week's game against the Eagles, that game would be a lot different with just about 2 catches on the Viking side, that drop touchdown by Irv Smith, and about probably another couple plays would change that outlook on the game a lot, I think. I mean, they did. I don't know. I can't remember how much they lost by, but I think the Vikings got this one here against the Lions.
I think the Lions are going to win this week.
There we go. There we go.
I don't think Kirk played well at all last week. Granted, it was against a very good Eagles defense, in my opinion, but I think Detroit has every reason to win this game. I think they're at this point the better team, so that's what I'm going with.
All right. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see some good points made on either side. It should be a great game. Honestly, if we're not saying Bills Dolphins is game of the week, this could be up there as well. Should be two high scoring games, but this one should be pretty interesting as well. So, jumping in next game, early slate, Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. The Ravens are favored by 3 here, and I do have the Ravens winning this game as much as I want the Patriots to pull this one out. I think the Ravens just have just a mismatch here, and I think even though Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time, I think Lamar's going to have a field day, um, probably mainly on the ground. I think it's just the speed that he has doesn't really compare to this New England defense. They're well coached and they'll be in the right position, but Lamar's probably going to be just running around them and putting juke moves and everything. I think he's just going to make them look silly. So we'll see, but I think the Ravens will pull this one out. Had a rough game in Miami that they probably should have won in week 2, and I think they'll be a little bit pissed off and come in. And that Patriots offense hasn't looked good either in the first 2 weeks. Just weird play calling and not getting certain guys involved that you thought maybe were. And I just think the Ravens are coming in here, better team, better quarterback, coming off a game that they should have won, and they're going to be pissed off trying to get this one to bounce back. So, what do we think? We'll hop in, Keegan. What do you think on the Ravens here against the Patriots? Who you got winning this one?
I mean, I think last week Lamar played very well. Everyone's talking about Tua's performance, but I think Lamar's is just as good. I don't see any reason why they can't go in and beat New England, who at this point I don't think they can figure out much on offense. So I think the Ravens are going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
kind of.
it'll be it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to
just
see Lamar kind of trying to put on another show like he did last week.
for sure. I definitely think that it's a little bit. I think the reason why, like the line, like you saying, like you said they were projected to win only by 3. I
Yep.
think like the line. I think the line's only that bad just because of how the last week how Baltimore played against with their defense. I definitely think that their defense isn't that bad like they showed in the fourth quarter against the Dolphins, but I think we're gonna see this Baltimore defense really kind of come back to their true nature and really just stuff this Patriots offense that's obviously been struggling, like you guys mentioned. But I think that the way that Bill Belichick kind of depends on his run game, like kind of setting that up, like kind of playing hard knock football. I think that the Ravens have a really good run defense, and I think that's going to be a problem going into New England for them because I think with them depending so heavily on their run, that just not going to be able to get going and force Mac to pass, which Mac hasn't been having. Like, I mean, he's not been having a horrible season, obviously, because just started, but he's not really like the most exciting QB out there. So I don't think we're going to see Mac be making like the plays that he needs to make that Lamar can. So I think I got Baltimore in this one.
Yeah, me too. After Lamar's performance last week against the Dolphins, I think you're going to see another dominant performance again against the New England defense, regardless if it is Bill Belichick's defense or not. I mean, it's Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it's just a talent issue at this point. It's kind of
Hmm.
like he could be coached really, really well, but he's gonna most likely just be too much for this defense to handle. Um, we'll jump in now with the next game, that being the Cincinnati Bengals playing against the New York Jets in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Bengals are favored by 5 here to win this game. Coming in 0-2, they have not looked good. I think that's being kind of nice at this point. They have looked pretty terrible, especially offensively. That offensive line looks like there's been no upgrades, and Joe Burrow hasn't looked good. The receivers haven't looked great. I think this should be kind of the bounce back week for the Bengals. I do have the Bengals winning this game. I think they should, like I kind of said with the Ravens being pissed off, like the Bengals went to the Super Bowl last season and now obviously are not living up to the expectations. So they're going to want to bounce back. They're going to be pissed off. Get the ball to Jamar Chase for the love of God. Get the ball to him. Screens, put him in the backfield like Debo Samuel. I don't know, something. Get this guy the ball. He's not getting it enough in my opinion. Um, I think, Zach Taylor's had a tough time coaching for the Bengals so far to start this season. It's looked really rough, but it's this is a talent issue. There's too much talent on this Bengals team to go into New Jersey and not beat the Jets here. And they got Joe Flacco starting at quarterback. Like this should be, in my opinion, an easy win for the Bengals. It should not be close. But obviously, judging how this season has started for Cincinnati, it could be. It just depends on what type of or what version of the Cincinnati Bengals we end up seeing. I'm guessing that we see more close to the 2021 Bengals rather than the 2022, hopefully. So I do have the Bengals winning. I'll get your opinion, Pawani, quick here. You got the Bengals or the Jets pulling this one out?
I got the Bengals getting their first win against the New York Jets here, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm in agreement. I think Joe Burrow's been playing really shitty these last 2 weeks, but I think there's something that he needs to change. Obviously, I think there's something that he's gonna change in order to get this team winning. But you mentioned Jamar Chase. I think that whole receiving core has an advantage over this Jets defense. I mean, obviously, honestly, I'm considering the Jets probably 0-2 here. I mean, they kind of got a lucky win against, not a lucky win, but they pulled out a win against the Browns. Browns aren't looking too good, but you know they pulled a lucky win out. I mean, I don't know. This is just going to be. I think the Bengals are going to obviously do what they did last year. I think they're going to feed Jamar Chase this game, and he's going to have a really big week this week. I mean, they're already targeting him a shit ton, so I definitely think getting him the ball is going to be a priority this game and making him expose this Jets defense.
All I have to say is Joe Flacco is elite, so I got the Jets this week.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and on that
This guy's crazy, bro.
on that note, we'll we'll move on. We got the tail of the 0-2 teams here. The Las Vegas Raiders against the Tennessee Titans. I think, at the beginning of this season, you probably weren't thinking that both of these teams would be 0-2 in week 3 in this matchup, but here we are. Crazier things have happened. The Raiders are projected to win this game by 2 here. This is in Nashville, so Tennessee has the home game here. But I think I have the Raiders winning. I think the Raiders will come in. They have way too, like, similar to the Bengals. They should not be 0-2 here. This team is way too talented. You have a better quarterback, better weapons on offense, um, better everything basically than the Titans. And Derrick Henry was the whole Titans offense. He has not looked good this season. So I think the Raiders should come in here, win this game. The Titans are just they're not looking great. They got their shit rocked last week to keep it frank. They bring in Malik Willis in at the end of the game. Like they're trying things, but it's not working. Now Tennessee still has a chance to win this division even with a loss here. Like I said, this division isn't great, but this team has not looked good. The receivers don't look good. The running back, Derrick Henry, doesn't look good. Offensive line is really not looking good. Taylor Lewan, their best offensive lineman, goes down last week, so it's not getting any better. Um, One of your best players on defense, Harold Landry, is out for the season. So this is a Titans team that, is struggling and doesn't have a lot of talent. And even though the Raiders are struggling as well, they have so much talent and they should come in here and, in my opinion, take this one by a lot, but it could be a closer game than you think. So, Priller, I'll hop in with you. You got the Raiders or the Titans here in Tennessee.
All right, just to put it simple, I have the Titans this week. I think Derrick Henry's going to have, obviously, what fantasy owners are hoping, a bounce back week. I definitely think Derrick Henry is about to run all over the field coming Sunday. So I for sure got the Titans this week with Derrick Henry. Definitely, if I'm a fan, if I'm a betting man, I definitely could see Derrick Henry hitting his over in rushing yards this week.
Really. I mean, I could
Wow.
see it being a tough game, but I think you really need a statement game here from Las Vegas. Yeah, with all the talent, getting Devontae Adams and Darren Waller, Hunter Renfro, which Hunter Renfro actually is, I think he's not playing this week, is he? But
Yeah,
I
still,
don't
you got
Hunter's
to
know.
make.
out
I
this
think
week.
Las Vegas needs a statement game. Can't be 0-2 at this point, I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Priller on this game. I think the Titans need to come in here and get this win, and I think Derrick Henry is
I
gonna
mean,
have a decent game. So
what does Derrick Henry put up this last week? Anyone not here? I'll pull up some stats real quick. Let me see.
I would like to mention how terrible the Tennessee Titans defensive backs look, and
Yes.
how there's kind of a pretty good receiver on the Las Vegas Raiders side of the ball. So I think
Yeah,
if
you're
we're
right.
looking for betting on an over, I think over Devontae Adams receiving yards,
I'll
touchdowns, whatever
take
you
that.
want. He's gonna go off. This Titans defense does not have a great pass rush outside of Jeffrey Simmons. You double team him and just let Devontae Adams run free. He should expose them. So
I think
it's an interesting game because like you guys are saying, like Derrick Henry, could break out here, not break out, but have a Derrick
could
Henry
he
game.
is.
But he hasn't shown that at all, and the
I
offensive
mean,
line is terrible, like one of the worst in the entire league.
all right. I mean, only Sunday will tell, but I definitely think Derrick Henry only having about 100, like 10, 15 yards, 107 yards this season. I think he's coming in from a guy who almost rushed 2,000 yards. What, like last season? Was it? Yeah, last season, almost rushed 2,000 yards.
No,
I
he was
definitely.
injured
Oh no, two
for a good
seasons ago.
chunk of last season.
Whatever. It's Derrick Henry, bro. Come on. I mean, this guy is
Hey,
he's gonna
he has not
control the
looked
game.
like Derrick Henry so far.
He is going to control this game on the ground. I think when it comes down to it, when Derrick Henry's running that football, I think this whole Titans offense plays well. So I think when they get Derrick Henry fully moving, I mean, shit, only upside from that team.
Problem is, you can't get him moving if he's getting in the backfield.
All right, you watch Mike. You watch Marky,
Hey,
bro.
we'll
Mark it
see.
on
We'll
the.
see. Pawani and I, we know it's
All
good.
right.
All right. Last game of the early slate here. Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders. This will be at Washington. A divisional matchup here, and the Eagles are favored by 6.5. Now, the Eagles have looked great, obviously, these first 2 weeks. They've looked, Jalen Hurts has looked like he's taken a huge step up. It looks like, a top half quarterback, which he didn't look like previously. So he's taken a big step. A.J. Brown looks great. The defense looks good. I actually have the Commanders taking this one in an upset. I know I'm crazy, whatever,
Crazy.
but Carson Wentz has looked like he's having a resurgence. Maybe he's
Terrible.
not on the level of Jalen Hurts, but he's looking like old Carson Wentz kind of was again. So that's really good to see. I think the weapons for the Commanders, they have a deeper group than the Eagles. They got, Terry McLaurin's looking like the third best receiver all of a sudden, which is crazy to think about. Um, and, the defense hasn't looked great necessarily for the Commanders, but I think they will be able to keep the Eagles in check. I think this will be a high scoring game. I think, the over under here is 47. I think that should be higher. Maybe place a bet on that if you want. I'm not saying no gambling advice here, but I think this will be a high-scoring game. I think both offenses are very good, but I like the Commanders to at home pull this one out, even though they're underdogs, pretty heavy underdogs here. I think they'll pull this one out.
I'm gonna have to actually just disagree on that, bro. I think the Eagles are just gonna overpower this defense that the Commanders have. I mean, I think that the Eagles' offense definitely outweighs the the Commanders' offense. I mean, you're bringing up Carson Wentz is doing well, but I mean, Jalen Hurts is just playing at an absolute phenomenal level this season. Just seeing what the Eagles' defense did to the Vikings just last week. I mean, the Vikings have similar, even better weapons than the Commanders. I think the Eagles are going to tear apart this team in a divisional matchup. I mean, they're gonna solidify why they're the number one team in the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles have definitely looked very, very, very impressive over the first 2 weeks, offense and defense. I mean, I haven't watched much Washington football, but I know they've hung in their games. But I think you still got to rock with the Eagles. They've been very impressive through first 2 weeks.
I mean, the Eagles have the second best rushing offense in the league, and the Commanders just gave up almost 200 yards to the Lions. So I think there's no reason the Eagles aren't going to win this one by 2 scores.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
That's right.
All right, whatever, man. Watch when the Commanders win on Sunday. I'm gonna be a genius. Watch it happen. Um, you know, I think it'll be a good game. I think, like I said, shootout. This will be an entertaining one. Um, a lot of points on the board, but I got the Commanders. I'm not changing. I'm sticking to my guns. All right, we're gonna take a quick break here. We'll hop into the late slate of games. We'll go over um, Sunday night and Monday night after a quick message. But stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the Underground Football Podcast.
Hey guys, I'm your co-host Priller. Go check us out on TikTok at UFPod, where we post updates on the latest news in the NFL and where we post original creative content daily. Thanks for listening to this short ad. Now let's get back to talking football.
Welcome back to the Underground Football Podcast. We're continuing on with our Week 3 matchups. We're going to jump in here to the later slate of games on Sunday. First one we're going to go over is the Jaguars against the Chargers. This one will be in California in SoFi Stadium, home game for the Chargers, who are favored by 7. This should be an interesting one. Obviously, the big speculation on this game is what is happening with Justin Herbert and is he going to play? Um, and I feel like that changes my pick a lot. Maybe not a lot. It changes my pick probably though. Um, I don't know. I'll stick with it. I'm picking the Jaguars. Whether he plays or not, I got the Jaguars winning. They've looked good. Trevor Lawrence looks like what we thought he was going to look like in his rookie year. It's crazy what not having Urban Meyer as your coach kind of does for you. But the Jaguars have looked good. Christian Kirk has kind of lived up to the paycheck that they gave him, which nobody thought was going to happen. I mean, not even I didn't think. We all thought it was an overpay basically in the football world, and now he's living up to that number next to his name basically. So James Robinson has come back from his injury and looked just like he did before he left. Travis Etienne's kind of gotten in the mix. The offense has looked good. Evan Ingram's looking like the best version of himself we've ever seen. The offensive line looks solid. And the defense, although young, has looked good as well. Now, the Chargers obviously have the stars all over the place. But some of those stars aren't looking like they're going to play. So Justin Herbert, questionable for this game. Keenan Allen, questionable for this game. Corey Linsley, doubtful for this game. Who's your all-pro center? Your right tackle, Trey Pipkins, the third, is questionable as well. And your big spend that you had in free agency, J.C. Jackson, also doubtful for this game. So Jaguars on paper may not have the better team, but they got heart. They're playing well. They are a young team that is going into a game that they're 7-point underdogs looking to kind of squeak one out and shock the world. And I think they'll pull it out. You know, I had the Commanders kind of doing a similar thing, and the Lions. The Lions definitely are a similar situation. I think young team kind of showing, hey, we belong here. We're ready to go. We're ready to compete. Maybe not for a Super Bowl, but we can win some games. And the Jaguars have looked good. Obviously, if Herbert doesn't play, I think that definitely, makes me a lot more confident in the Jaguars. But even if he plays, I don't care. Herbert is going to play injured, which he's got a rib injury, which is going to be painful as all hell. He's going to be throwing every single play, and it's going to hurt. So whether he's healthy or not, or not whether he's healthy, whether he's playing or not, he's not going to be healthy. So I got the Jaguars. Keegan, what do you think? What do you think about Jaguars Chargers? Who you got winning this game?
So pick Jacksonville this game. I think James Robinson's played incredibly well so far, and I also think Etienne can pick it up and start catching some passes. That's what he's meant to do. With Chargers, with all their injuries, I mean, if most of the players are injured, like they're saying, there's no way I think they can really compete with Jacksonville. But if Herbert is feeling great, then I do think the Chargers could pull it out. But I do have Jacksonville winning this.
That's
You
good. I
know,
agree.
just kind of, Mike, you kind of were swaying me a little bit, thinking maybe Jacksonville might be able to pull this off. But I mean, it's the Chargers. I mean, they have too many superstars on that team to just even like, yeah, Justin Herbert could go down, but I think with their phenomenal running back that they have, that they can just hand it off to him and check downs type stuff. Definitely think anybody who comes into that system should be able to, not to say that Justin Herbert can be replaced, but I definitely think that their backup can definitely come in and play the game. And I mean, Justin Herbert is kind of that guy who I imagine is going to be wanting to play no matter if he is injured or not. Hopefully, it doesn't hurt the team that if he does that. But I still think that the Chargers could definitely win, or definitely are going to win this game over Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville is as sound as you're saying it. Yeah, I do think that they don't look good on paper, but I think that is also equivalent to say they don't really look that good in game.
Yeah, I mean, although Jacksonville's looked good so far, I'm gonna rock with the Chargers here, whether Justin Herbert plays or not. I mean, yeah, you still got a really good defense over there. Khalil Mack, Derwin James, those guys are still playing, and Eckler's playing. So
The
I'm
team
gonna
that
still
almost beat the
Chargers.
Chiefs too.
Yeah, and in that division, every game's a must-win for them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
you gotta win.
Yeah, definitely what Juan just said. Yeah, every game is definitely a must-win type of game. I don't think that they're gonna let this Jacksonville team come in and just like, especially at the home. I'm a big believer in the home games. I do not see Jacksonville coming to SoFi Stadium and taking one over on this team.
I think the Jaguars are going to have home field advantage. You seen the Chargers games? The fans don't come out to those games. Jaguars are going to have more fans there than the Chargers. I don't know.
I doubt it, bro. Trust.
It'll be
Just
it'll be an
watch.
interesting one. That's kind of one of my more like, I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but like, um it's just going to be an interesting game. It could go either way. It really depends on Herbert. Obviously that changes things, but I think that'll be one that I'm definitely keeping tabs on. Maybe not like, watching live, but I definitely want to keep tabs and see like, hey, are the Jaguars pulling this one out? Because I think they can. All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Next game in the late slate, we have the former Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams going to Arizona to play the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals coming off of their crazy win in overtime against the Raiders, and the Rams coming off of their um, almost 28-3 crumble against the Falcons. And maybe I'm leaning too much on last week, but I got the Cardinals winning this one in an upset. Again, I'm kind of picking a lot of underdogs here, but I like the underdogs. Arizona is rough around Kyler Murray. Everything around Kyler Murray is kind of rough, but then you have Kyler Murray, and I think he's kind of showed why he deserved getting that big extension, and he's kind of the whole offense, which your quarterback should be your whole offense, but um, he's looked amazing, and he's extended plays longer than we could ever imagine, and these weapons haven't looked great, but I think him and Marquise Brown, went to college together. They should hopefully get back on the same page. Um, Rondale Moore's going to be out again, but Greg Dortch has kind of like taken over the Rondale Moore role, and James Conner's questionable, but even if he's out, I think Darrell Williams and Eno Benjamin can do a good job. Um, my one thing is the Cardinals defense is a little bit rough, but Byron Murphy Jr. Just went against Devontae Adams last week, and Devontae Adams had like 2 catches for like 11 yards. Obviously, I'm that's not exact numbers, but he held Devontae Adams to like nothing. So I'm not saying he's going to do that to Cooper Kupp, but I think the Cardinals could definitely squeak one out here. With Kyler Murray kind of putting on another show. I mean, they're going to need it. If Kyler Murray's off, then the Cardinals lose this game. But Kyler Murray's going to be hopefully on his game and lead this team to an upset victory. So that's what I got. Pawani, I'd like to hear your thoughts here. I'd like to see, because I had the Cardinals, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm a little bit skeptical. This coaching staff's done a little bit of interesting job, and the defense doesn't look phenomenal necessarily. But I'd like to see what you think, Pawani, about this game here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too high on the Cardinals. I mean, Kyler Murray has looked good. He extended those plays last week that we all seen numerous times, I'm sure. But I don't know. Kyler Murray for me really hasn't. I haven't seen what I'd like to see out of a quarterback. So I'm definitely with the Rams here. Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp. They're doing a lot of stuff with Cooper Kupp throughout the first 2 games. He's got a ton of targets. So they're really just getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers and letting it go. So I'm definitely going with the Rams over the Cardinals here.
Interesting. I'm gonna honestly have to take it to Mike's opinion here. I think the Cardinals are gonna be able to pull this one out, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, the Rams have looked good and probably honestly have looked a little bit better on offense than the Cardinals. But I think the Cardinals are gonna pull one over on the Rams, to be honest with you. So yeah, the Rams. I mean, fuck, the Cardinals, my bad.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals, personally, I think they're a quicker team other than the Rams. I mean, the Rams, I'd say probably have more talent offensive wise, but I think the Cardinals, after last week, have all the momentum. I think they're going to go in and beat the Rams. So I go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a good point, momentum. I definitely think that this team, the Rams, for example, have almost like Mike said, had a crumbling defeat to the fucking Atlanta Falcons. I definitely think with this momentum that, you know, Cardinals kind of think they can do whatever they not do whatever they want, can kind of like have success even in like tight games. I definitely see this with this momentum carrying over to this week and, shocking the world with this victory.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, no one here mentioned the Rams defense with Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. So I think they're going to give Kyler Murray a struggle, man. I don't exactly. Like I said, I'm not that high on Kyler. I don't know. It's top defense he's facing, and
Yeah, that's fair. I think, Kyler can extend plays though, and even though his offensive line is going to have trouble with Aaron Donald, guaranteed, no O-line can hold Aaron Donald, but I think, he's the quarterback you want against a guy like Aaron Donald. There isn't a guy that I'd rather have maybe besides Lamar Jackson where, he's going to get away from Aaron Donald. Now maybe he'll get him maybe once or twice up the middle, just kind of catching him off guard. But he's the guy. If you have one quarterback that you're picking to kind of bail out your offensive line, that the Cardinals' offensive line isn't great, but he elevates them. He makes them look better by extending these plays. And no one's talking about how bad the offensive line was on that play against the Raiders last week. But they let guys through. Kyler did that. It wasn't his offensive line. So even though Aaron Donald's going to be a big thing, and I'm not trying to downplay him, Jalen Ramsey, all the guys, Bobby Wagner on the Rams defense. I just think the Cardinals will squeak one out here. Like Keegan said, the speed thing is a big aspect with Kyler especially, just being able to outrun guys to the sidelines and get extra yards. So it should be a good game though. I think it'll be competitive, and yeah, we'll move on now. Um, Next game we have is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. I believe the spread is even right now. I don't know if you guys see anything different, but I believe that's what I was under the impression, and I think fair enough. This is going to be a very close game. I know Priller's not going to be happy for me to say this, but this is two of the worst teams in the league, and kind of similar to that Bears Texans game where it's kind of like either one really could win. I just think the Falcons, in my opinion, are going to take this one out. I think they have the better quarterback, and the weapons have looked comparable, and Drake London's looked good. Kyle Pitts has to get going. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to so far, but if Arthur Smith can get Kyle Pitts, excuse me, can get Kyle Pitts going, I think this will be a good game for the Falcons. I think, like I said, neither team is great, and it should be kind of, again, not a great game to maybe watch. I know Priller will probably be watching, but hey, um, I think both teams aren't great. Offensive lines aren't great. Um, Defensive lines aren't great. Secondaries aren't great. It's kind of just weapons. Both teams having Kyle Pitts against DK Metcalf, having Drake London, Tyler Lockett, that type of thing. But I think the Falcons kind of have secondary help. They have AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward. They stand a better chance, in my opinion. Priller, I'll hop in
You
with you.
know,
Obviously, we want to hear
yeah.
your opinion. So let's hear it. What do you got here for
All
this
right.
game?
So obviously, me, I'm going with the Seahawks, but I do with the only reason why I'm going with the Seahawks, to be honest with you, is just because of how not involved they haven't involved Kyle Pitts, who's honestly one of their superstars on that team. I think if the Falcons do involve Kyle Pitts this game, I definitely think the Seahawks are going to be in some trouble because they obviously last week couldn't really defend 49ers, their tight ends. So
That
and
wasn't even
that's
George Kittle.
yeah, I know. So I think if Seahawks can't defend Kyle Pitts, or if the Falcons are getting Kyle Pitts involved, I think the Seahawks are going to have a long day. Now, granted, you did say I definitely do think this game is going to be kind of like a snooze fest. These are two really bottom tier NFL teams right now. So, yeah, I mean, the reason I'm saying Seahawks though is just because obviously I believe in my team, but not only that, I think that DK's due for a game, and I think that Rashad Penny, off of his terrible week that he had last week, I definitely think to see him get more involved in this game against the Atlanta Falcons, who have not been that good at stopping the run. So, yeah, that's what I got. Seahawks.
My one thing about
Yeah, I
DK is just
definitely.
AJ Terrell. It's a tough
Yeah, you're
matchup.
right. That is a tough matchup, but I mean, with what we've seen with also, I mean, you mentioned Tyler Lockett. I mean, Tyler Lockett's no slouch in
And
passing
Casey
game. I mean, he
Hayward's
had a
gonna cover him. Hey,
yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
see
it's gonna
them
be
I
interesting.
don't see them being able to man up on these guys all game.
Not all game,
So
yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is going to be an interesting one. I mean, it is going to be a snooze fest most likely, and you were said that it's pretty even. I mean, it is like a -1. The Seahawks are projected to win by one. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm also going to give it to the Seahawks just because it's at the Seahawks zone. We know what the Seahawks do at home. I mean, obviously the 12th man could be definitely a factor in this game, so it's going to be definitely an interesting game. I mean, we're going to see.
Yeah, it should be competitive.
Yeah, I see you going either way. Definitely not rooting for Seattle football, so Falcons all the way.
Boo.
That's all you
Dude, I
got.
voted. I like the Bears, man, and you do that to me? Come on.
Man, fuck Seattle.
I'm gonna have to go with Seahawks on this one. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a DK game. So I think it's gonna be exciting to watch.
I think I'm rubbing off on them.
Exciting to watch. Oh, this guy's crazy. All right. Well,
Yeah.
enough talking about that terrible game. No offense, but we'll move on to a much better game, in my opinion. That being the Buccaneers against the Green Bay Packers. This will be in Tampa Bay, home game for the Buccaneers. They're favored by 1 point, and I think the spread tells you something. This is going to be a close game. Two great quarterbacks that don't have anybody to throw to, basically. So it should be two similar teams. Obviously, both QBs are future Hall of Famers. They're unbelievable, and they're both, even to this day, still playing at a super super high level. But the story of the week is going to be, maybe you would lean Tampa, like, hey, like Tampa's going to win, right? But like Mike Evans suspended, Chris Godwin out, Julio Jones questionable, Russell Gage questionable, Rashad Perriman questionable. Those are all wide receivers, every single one of them. That's five guys. So you're down. Your number one receiver now is Scotty Miller, I guess. Number two is Cole Beasley, who just came off the street. I don't know. It seems like, I still have Tampa Bay winning. I shouldn't say anything like, crazy, but I still have Tampa Bay winning. I think that defense for Tampa Bay is just unbelievable. I think if you're looking at best defense in the league, it's either Tampa Bay or it's Buffalo. And, you could pick either one. I'm not going to be mad at you. I think, you have Vita Vea on the inside with Akeem Hicks. You have Devin White, Levante David, two of the best linebackers in the league. Shaquille Barrett coming off the edge with that unbelievable secondary. This is one of the best, rosters top down. It's just those wide receivers are going to be a problem. But if you look at Green Bay, starting receivers Alan Lazard. Like it's both teams are struggling in the weapon department. Both teams have good running backs though. Leonard Fournette for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon for the Packers. But I think if you look at the defenses, Green Bay has a great defense, but I don't think they're on the level of Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to give Rodgers just fits. He's not going to be able to find anybody open. He's going to have pressure in his face constantly. He's got David Bakhtiari possibly coming back. He's questionable this week, but that would be a huge help. But I still think Tampa Bay comes out with a win in this week. I'll hop in with Keegan. We'll get your opinion. What do you think here? Tampa Bay, Green Bay, who do we got winning in week 3?
I mean, definitely the injuries for Tampa Bay is scary, and they just lost Akeem Hicks for a month, so that's rough for their defense. But I still think their defense is superior than the Packers' offense. So I'm going Tampa Bay in this game by at least 3.
All right, well, I'm just gonna have to jump in real quick. I definitely think with what Green Bay did to obviously not a very good Chicago Bear team, I definitely think that Green Bay is gonna keep their momentum and keep it rolling. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna get more used to his young but athletic wide receiver core. I definitely could see him dropping some decent plays. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a very great quarterback. I mean, you mentioned Tom Brady, also very great quarterback. But I just think Aaron Rodgers, with all this questionable stuff with their receivers, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a better day on the passing. But then I think Tampa Bay might have a better day on the rushing side. So it's a flip flop either way. But when it comes down to it, I think Green Bay is going to be able to make more plays than the Buccaneers. So I'm taking Green Bay.
I mean, we've seen that struggle with Aaron Rodgers and his receivers so far. And looking at the injury report right now, Randall Cobb's questionable, Christian Watson's questionable, and Sammy Watkins is obviously out. So who does that leave Aaron Rodgers even? I think he'll probably end up struggling quite a bit too. So I'm definitely taking Tampa Bay in their defense, giving Rodgers a problem.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird how similar these two teams are right now, both in the NFC, both two of the best teams in the NFC competing for the to go to the Super Bowl obviously, but having some rough times in the wide receiver department. I think Green Bay obviously is kind of not used to it, but they went into the season knowing that was going to be a problem. And Tampa Bay came into the season with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones going, we got the best receiving core in the league, and all of a sudden things aren't like that anymore. So it should be a good game. These two teams are going to be great, and every game between Brady and Rodgers is obviously something you can't miss. So I think you
Yep.
could go either way. 1 point spread really tells you something, but Tampa Bay at home, that's who I got. We'll jump in now. Sunday night football. 2 games left. Here we go. Sunday night, we got the San Francisco 49ers against the Denver Broncos in Denver. The 49ers are 1.5 point favorites. And, this one hurts to say, but Trey Lance out for the season. Super, super unfortunate. Obviously, I was the biggest Trey Lance fan out there, basically. And super sad to not be able to see him play the rest of the season. And it's tough because you don't know how the team's going to look next season, and this is a Super Bowl caliber roster right now that he had around him. So hopefully he comes back next year and the team's still great, and he can continue growing as a player. But for now, this is Jimmy Garoppolo's team. Looking back, obviously it's a great idea that they kept him around. Good insurance policy. Now you have, still a very adequate quarterback. So I think the 49ers honestly have a better floor now than they did with Lance, but that ceiling is definitely capped off. But Jimmy G super solid. He's going to get the ball into the hands of his playmakers, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle coming back this week. I think that'll be huge. I have the 49ers winning this week. They look healthy outside of Trey Lance everywhere, basically. So this team's got a bunch of superstars defensively. Um, you got Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Fred Warner. Talanoa Hufanga at safety has looked like maybe the best safety in the league to start the season. So this will be a tough defense for this Broncos unit to go against. But the Broncos also just haven't looked great. Obviously, the coaching issues have been very prominent. It's kind of insane how bad Nathaniel Hackett's looked so far. But um, the 49ers also have played Russell Wilson so many times. They know exactly, how he plays, what he's trying to do, how he can extend plays, everything. So this will be a good game, but I think with Jimmy G back at the helm, he's just going to get the ball out to Debo, hand it off to him, throw him a screen, get him on a crossing route, whatever, get him the ball, get George Kittle back in action, and use your big guys up front, Trent Williams and such, to just pound the rock. And I think it should be a good game. Both teams are super competitive. The Broncos have a good roster up and down, but they just haven't looked. They haven't looked like they're really on it to start. So I got the 49ers winning this game. I'll hop in with Priller. We'll get your opinion here. I know maybe not the biggest 49ers fan out there, but what are your thoughts here for Sunday Night Football?
Honestly, it kind of hurts me to say this, but I definitely have the 49ers winning this game. I think Broncos have definitely looked whack. They have not been able to perform obviously as expected. I mean, everyone thought this team was going to be great, but they have not proved expectations. I think the 49ers have the coaching edge on this, obviously, with Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. I think he's going to scheme it up right against the Broncos, who struggled against the Texans. I think that the 49ers have a way better defense than the Texans. So I definitely could see this defense given Russell Wilson, who you mentioned, they've played numerous amounts of times. I mean, like this defense, and I mean, this defense hasn't got that new. So this defense knows how Russell Wilson plays. So I think that Russell Wilson's going to have a tough time going in and trying to take a dub. So yeah, I got the 49ers winning this one.
I got the 49ers as well. I mean, yeah, obviously you'd like to ride with the Broncos country, but they haven't looked like it in the first 2 weeks at all. They scored only maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns total.
Yeah, they just
Yeah,
haven't looked that
I
good.
like Jimmy G going into the situation he's going into. Obviously, kind of taking his team back over, and just that's kind of where they've been for the last year or two. So, I mean, they're a stable team. I'm gonna take the 49ers here.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 49ers got this one. I think Jimmy G can run that offense to where it needs to go. So I think 49ers got this one.
That might be the first time we've all four agreed since the Chiefs Colts game, and I didn't expect that in a 1.5 point spread. But I think you look at the 49ers roster, it's really good, and you're not losing a lot with Jimmy G coming in. He's a super solid backup. So we'll move
Hold on,
on.
just to
Nope,
point
we
out.
won't move on.
I mean, no, yeah, just to point out, just one more time, just kind of reiterating. I mean, like we've seen Russell Wilson go in with the Seahawks, who obviously are not a very great team this year. Russell Wilson didn't do much. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, so that's what I'm just saying. So Russell Wilson, who obviously was on the Seahawks, Seahawks know who Russell Wilson is, schemed against him. 49ers know who Russell Wilson is, so obviously they know how to scheme against him. I definitely could see Russell Wilson not putting up great numbers this week. So got him on your fantasy team. Might want to think about starting a backup.
I'd like to point
Yeah.
out too just the sheer amount of injuries for the Broncos, having Jerry Jeudy questionable, KJ Hamler's questionable, Tim Patrick's obviously on IR. So right now, if the questionable guys don't play, it's Cortland Sutton and Kendall Hinton who played quarterback a couple years ago. You know, you're not looking for that. And then on defense, you got Draymond Jones questionable, Josie Jewell questionable, and the big one, Pat Surtain questionable. So if half these guys play, you're pretty happy here. Also on the O line, Quinn Miners, your right guard, questionable, and Billy Turner, right tackle, questionable. So that right side of the offensive line could look pretty suspect as well. This is just, in my opinion, all signs are pointing towards the 49ers taking this one. We'll hop in now. Monday Night Football. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. Giants have a home game this week. The Giants favored by 1 point. 2-0 Giants. One of only, 6 or 7 teams to be 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
Um, I unfortunately have the Cowboys taking this one. Now, Cooper Rush has come in for Dak Prescott and not looked great. I mean, we kind of didn't expect him to look great, but um, I think the real thing here is Micah Parsons has looked like the defensive player of the year so far. Now he is questionable for this game, but I'm kind of expecting him to play. Now if he doesn't play, things might change here for my prediction. But I think this Cowboys defense should give Daniel Jones fits. You got Micah Parsons coming off the edge and also in coverage. You got Trayvon Diggs trying to pick you off every play. You got DeMarcus Lawrence as well. Like this defense has superstars. Now maybe they're not super deep, but they have stars that can make plays, and we all know Daniel Jones is prone to turning the ball over. So I think even though the Giants have their starter and the Cowboys have Cooper Rush starting at QB, Michael Gallup could be back. He's questionable this week. Dalton Schultz questionable as well. But having CeeDee Lamb, having Zeke, having Tony Pollard, Cooper Rush just needs to get the ball to these guys. And I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Honestly, I think neither
Yep.
team will put up a ton of points. The over/under's 39. Yeah, not very high. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, but I think the Cowboys will come out on top. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. So we'll start with Pawani. Pawani, what do you think about the Cowboys and Giants? Who you got winning Monday Night Football?
I really liked how the Cowboys looked last week against the Bengals with Cooper Rush starting that game, and then Micah Parsons. As I was watching that game, Micah Parsons is just a stud, making plays every goddamn play. He's really an elite pass rusher. I mean, definitely one of a kind. I think with what we're seeing, and I think he's going to give Daniel Jones some trouble and probably hand the Giants their first loss.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Giants obviously have played a few like not so great teams these first 2 weeks, but I think they also have this. I think they're just like pretty good underdogs. You know what I mean? Like so, I'm gonna
They're
have to go with an
favored in
upset.
this game.
Yeah, but like they're favored because Cooper Rush is starting. Let's be honest here. If Cooper Rush wasn't even started, I might still take the Giants just because I just think that
That's
this
craziness
this
right
this
there.
this Cowboys team, they've always looked good on paper. Like let's be real, they've always looked like they've had superstars, and they just never could been able to get it done. And I think this NFC East, who has low key been like kind of been doing pretty well this season, definitely could see the Giants finishing finishing coming out on top on this one. So I'm gonna have to take them. Obviously, I mean minus one favorites is not crazy. I mean it's still kind of a toss up here, but I don't know something about it. I just think Saquon's very good. I think this team just gonna be able to do what they've been doing, and run the ball. So yeah, I mean I got the Giants winning this one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Cooper Rush can pull out another win. I mean, I don't think he is that good of a quarterback, even for a backup. So I don't see any reason why the Giants can't win this game.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I
Hey,
like that.
they pulled one
I
out
like
in Cincinnati. You can't doubt them. They'll
And
exactly.
the Bears beat Cincinnati last year too. So you know, all I gotta say.
Okay, fair enough. Again, this one's probably not one of the highest, or not going to be one of the highest viewed Monday Night Footballs of the season. Not a lot of people super excited
Definitely a
about this game.
lackluster game.
But it should be close, should be competitive. And there's stars on both teams: Saquon Barkley, Micah Parsons. Um, you got rookie Kayvon Thibodeau. Hopefully he plays. But I think Cowboys just have more star power, and hopefully will make more plays to prove me right. But if you guys are good, we've gotten through every game, week 3. I mean, we missed Thursday, but Thursday's Thursday. We'll try to be better in the future. But if you guys are good, we can wrap it up here. Any last things to say? Anybody's mind changed at all throughout this? Anybody, surprised on any
My mind hasn't
picks?
changed, but let me make one last point. I'm hearing a lot of Cooper Rush talk, but a lot of you guys aren't too high on the man. I liked watching him against the Bengals on last Sunday. He did pretty good. And looking back at the stats right now, he had more fucking passing yards than Joe Burrow. So I don't know. Does he deserve
Mm.
all that disrespect? He might have
Uh,
even
uh,
looked better than Dak Prescott week 1, but I mean they did play the Tampa Bay defense, so we'll let Dak slide on that.
Well, Dak
Fair
didn't
enough.
play the whole game either.
He didn't, but still,
I
I
can't
mean,
believe Priller. We got to go back to what you said. How if Dak was playing, you still might pick the Giants.
I don't know, man. I've just seen this team has always looked good on paper. Correct me if I'm wrong. They've always looked like they've had superstars on offense and
But
defense.
they didn't
they're
Everyone,
last
lacking
week.
on offense
Last
this
week
year.
they did not look like they were gonna have a chance, and they pulled one out.
I don't know. I'm not buying into this hype.
They came out hot.
I just think that the Giants, just might pull it off, man. I don't know. I just feel like that might happen this week. So I'm
That's fair.
sticking to my guns. I mean, when it happens, I'll be there to flaunt in your guys' face, but obviously I can expect the same. So yeah, I'm sticking with the Giants on this
I'm
one,
trying
man.
to think what pick did I have that none of you had? The Commanders. When the Commanders win, you guys are not gonna hear the end of it.
Nah, Commanders are
Mm,
definitely getting dubbed by 2 scores.
yeah, for sure. I'm with
Let's not
Lonnie on that one.
let's not forget what I said about Joe Flacco. That's the most important point made today.
Oh yeah, that
Joe
is
Flacco
insane,
is
bro.
elite.
I don't know. I think it's gonna be interesting day
Should be a good week
Sunday.
of football. Should be very fun. A lot of fantasy implications too. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for you know some games more than others. I think the primetime games maybe aren't the best, but Sunday night 49ers Broncos should be good. So should be a
Aaron
good
Rodgers,
weekend.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
week's
I mean that
primetime
one's
games. Yeesh.
late slate of games on Sunday, but yeah, that should be a good one. There's a couple games that are definitely Bills Dolphins, Lions Vikings even for me. Buccaneers, Packers. All three of those are really good games. 49ers, Broncos too. Should be really entertaining. A lot of superstars playing, a lot of points, a lot of defense. But yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll wrap it up here, I guess. It was a good show. We got through every game. We all got our points in, whatever. So to wrap it up here, alongside my co-host Jack Priller, our two special guests. Thank you guys for coming. Keegan York, Jacob Pawani. Appreciate you guys for coming out. I'm Mike Maynard. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in next time. We'll be back. But yeah, until then, thank you very much for listening to the Underground Football Podcast. We'll see you later.